Welcome back again, viewers. As always, I'm Pat, and this is Forza Versus. We have an interesting lineup today. Two very different cars. One is a gas-guzzling monster which people have hated on for years, saying that it shouldn't be on the road and only idiots and simpletons would ever own one, like movie stars. The other is the 2006 Hummer H1 Alpha. The Hummer is a high-tech machine that is a result of taking our understanding of the automotive world and trying new things. It is a game changer in its class, and its family has been making impressions over the course of its model life. People at this point would think I'm getting my facts wrong. How can a little Prius be called a gas guzzler? It's a hybrid. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the fact is simply there are things the Prius doesn't have, which counts against it. So I'll start first with the Hummer, and straight away you American folk can stop laughing. I know Hummer can mean blowjob. I found that out when I was still on dial-up looking for off-roading videos on iMesh. Don't ask. Anyway, the 2006 Hummer H1 Alpha is kind of a final update to the H1 series of vehicles. They ditched the old power plant and fitted a 6.6-litre twin-turbo diesel V8, and had to actually adjust its ECU to make sure that the new 224 kilowatt motor wouldn't snap something down the driveline with its 705 Nm of torque. It says a lot about an engine when a car maker has to break out the laptop to stop it from killing itself, but it also speaks to me in that updating the engine and fitting the updated interior, someone at Hummer didn't stop to think, maybe we should fit, new drive shafts? But then again, we all know that a real four-wheel drive owner would be too scared to even park on their lawns. They might get bogged, and there's nothing up the road strong enough to winch 3.68 tons of American pride in suburbia. When it was first made as a replacement for the Jeep for use with the American military, the H1 Hummer had some trick options, like CTIS, allowing you to change the tyre pressure even while moving, and inboard brake discs, which keep them up out of harm's way. The H1 was designed from the ground up to meet and exceed any tests that the military could throw at it, and ultimately, what's not to like about sitting all high and mighty in a big SUV? A properly big one. None of this Ford Territory BS, that's just a jacked up wagon. Which moves nicely back to our other car. This is a jacked up wagon, also known as a 2011 Toyota Prius. Possibly the original modern day hybrid. There were other combinations of hybrid vehicles before the Prius, but Toyota was the first to the table to see the potential in taking a compact car and some Vaseline, a couple of wines too many, and batteries. The net result is a surprisingly trim 1.38-ton car that can pull about... Why does no one quote the battery mileage? They talk about how low their miles per gallon is, or litres to the 100 Ks, but that's with a full tank, and using the electric motor with that full tank. But this is my main issue with hybrids. The petrol motor is there to add torque to the electric one, or to keep the system running if the battery's low. All this focuses on the fact that it has a battery, but the engine is doing the heavy lifting. The 2011 model brought in a 1.8-litre petrol backup engine, compared to the old 1.6 that the Prius used to have. And they've tried a few different battery technologies, but I'll get into that in a minute. Neat tricks this model has up its sleeve include being the first gas engine without an accessory belt, as in to say a fan belt, thanks to the water pump being a separate electric unit and the engine getting its electrical needs from the battery rather than needing an engine-mounted alternator. The body of the Prius makes use of new bioplastics, which is pretty clever and green, making the planet smile and all that, but the fact remains if you drive this like a normal car, say a BMW 318, the Prius struggles to keep up and would burn its fuel or risk burning its electric motor trying to give you all of its frankly disappointing 100 kilowatts. But of course, the Prius isn't made to be racing on tracks. It's made to save you some pennies every time you want to quietly nip down to the shops for some bread and milk. It's made to show you that you don't need to make dinosaurs explode every time you want to cross the neighborhood for a coffee shop. And it's made to show that the Toyota designers are schizophrenic. They can make great cars, or they can make some not-so-great ones. It just depends on how their company budget feels. But so long as people keep getting their bread and butter cars, they'll have the money to work on more interesting things, like Project Let's Get Laid with Subaru and make a new sports car aimed at drivers, which honestly was a great idea. So to all the Prius owners and bloody Camry drivers out there that I love to rant about, I actually thank you. Your money eventually makes my world more interesting. So with that out of the way, let's move on to the scoring phase. First up, the Hummer H1. It's gone from an intimidating presence on the road to a shunned or mocked icon of a culture of excess and irresponsibility. It's jackass on wheels. It's the 13-year-old COD player that won't shut up about how he's apparently banged your mum last night. It's American. It's flipping the bird. And you know what? It's about fourth on the list of my dream cars. As a warm-blooded male, I can't help but giggle at the thought of driving one through traffic. Literally. I like its grandiose everything. What I don't like about it is the fact that its children, the H2 and H3, were designed based on other platforms rather than built from the ground up. They're just not as good as the first, at least for the design requirement of can go off-road. For the requirement of so my trophy wife can go shopping for new shoes, sure, all three can do it, and she just might give you a Hummer if you get her one. But it gets a 5 out of 10. As much as I gush over it, that doesn't change what it is, and what it is a bit much. Looking at the Prius, I wanted to hate on it a lot more. I wanted to go on about how it'll kill the planet when its batteries need replacing, and how it's a car for a modern-day smug arsehole who needs to get somewhere not that fast, or how it's too small to be practical, yet too big to be a nice compact. But behind all that, the range game actually sounds fun. It's where you drive softly as possible to see how far you can push the batteries. And despite the first one looking like an abomination to design, it's slowly getting better with each change. The design is coming along. It's not inspired, but by the numbers, it's not bad. I do hate that the batteries aren't getting any better technology-wise, and that really holds the Prius back. If it could charge faster, discharge slower, or even just hold more charge, comparing the energy density to say, oh, I don't know, fuel, it could work. I'd rather the Chevy Volt though. I have to award the Prius a 6. It's an honest attempt at being the next big thing in cars, and while rev heads might shun it, the idea has merit. Hybrids have gotten good in some cases. The McLaren P1 shows that nerds with calculators can hang out with the greased up mechanics, share a couple of drinks, and then set about not replacing the gas motor, but instead making it even better. If these technologies were to trickle down to mere mortals of the motoring world, I would be excited to see what they come up with. I've been Pat, and I thank you for watching. And remember, put the phone down if you're behind the bloody wheel.